13 in the NFL was an interesting one to say the least. In the money line, we ended up going 9-4, which puts me at 132 and 61 on the year in the money line. My four misses were Pittsburgh against Arizona, Philly against San Francisco, which as an Eagles fan, I know you all want to taunt me today. We'll get to that game when we get to the recap. I also missed the two night games. I had Kansas City over Green Bay. I had Jacksonville over Cincinnati. Both a little bit of a surprise, especially the one last night, the Monday night game, but those were our four misses. Again, that puts us at 132 and 61 on the year. For best bets, we hit all of them in the 1 o'clock window. Atlanta covering the 3 against the Jets, Houston covering 3.5 against Denver, Indy covering 1.5 against Tennessee. Now, we needed overtime for that one, but Philly and Kansas City disappointed us. That puts us at 3-5 for best bets that week in week 13. That puts us at 42 and 64 with one push on the year. So, again, another winning week. We've been hot with winning weeks. 3 out of 5, 4 out of 5, I believe the last 4 or 5 weeks or so in best bets. So I've been pretty good with my picks this year. But let's get into that recap. Starting with the Thursday night game, which was a penalty-filled, slow-moving, awful game, though high-scoring. Dallas wins it 41-35. And I thought really the story of this game was in the second half. Seattle just refused to block the Dallas defensive line. Micah Parsons on the 2 big fourth downs make 2 huge keys plays in the game. Dak Prescott played really well. We know what Dallas usually does at home. They score a lot of points. I thought the Seattle offense looked as good as it's looked in the last month. That looked like a team that, can pull off some wins that might be able to get in the playoff picture. But if you're a Seahawks fan now, you lost to Joe Burrow earlier in the year, and now you've gone through this gauntlet where you got San Francisco twice with Dallas and Philadelphia in between. I believe they had another loss. Oh, the Rams before that as well. So, 5 straight losses here could be on the table for Seattle, which, again, could derail their season. Again, I like their pieces. I like Jackson Smith and Jigba, who had a pretty nice night Thursday night. I like TK Metcalf. I like Tyler Lockett. I like Walker. The biggest question on the offensive side of the ball, and they have 2 very young tackles who I like as one of the offensive line. But the biggest question on the offensive side of the ball is Geno Smith, who played very well. But we all know Geno Smith is a bridge quarterback that can win you games. He can out-win you championships. I think Seattle needs to get better in the pass rush department. Leonard Williams has been okay with that trade over to the Giants. I expected him to have a bigger impact. Their secondary is really good. Obviously, Woolen and Witherspoon, the rookie. Jamal Adams back there as well when he's healthy. Very good player. But in the end, I just think they need more pass rush in the defensive front, and I think they need to upgrade their quarterback position. Dallas is right where I projected them to be at the beginning of the year, right there, a little bit behind San Francisco and Philly, but I put them a little bit ahead of Detroit because of their secondary. Now, the Dolphins boat race the Commanders. Ron Rivera is going to be done for the year. I mean, there's not a ton to speak about this game. The Commanders played one eye safety on Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill had a day. Washington lost this game by 30. I said, could their defense play very well with Rivera? Could they cover the spread? It was possible, but Miami obviously took advantage of Washington. Now, the Chargers, this spread was 5.5. They ended up covering 6-0 against New England. This was a rainstorm game. It's Chargers-Patriots. It's Brandon Staley going up against a Patriots offense that got shut out for the second time this year at home. It doesn't matter if it's Mac Jones, Bailey Zappi, Malik Cunningham. They cannot move the ball offensively. Ramondre Stevenson got hurt in this game. He's going to miss a couple weeks. No Ezekiel Elliott's the starting running back. It's going to be Patriots Steelers Thursday night, and what looks to be a barn burner of a football game. But what a mess. Chargers win. They're still not a playoff team with Brandon Staley as their head coach. Who cares? Atlanta, they covered against the Jets. Another ugly game. And for the first time in NFL history, potentially, a starting NFL quarterback may not want to play. The Jets want to go back to Zach Wilson because of how bad Tim Boyle and Trevor Siemian are. And Zach Wilson does not want to play for this disaster of an offensive franchise. And I had said, when Aaron Rodgers left to go from the Packers to the Jets. If you remember way back in March 2023 of this year, I said, I think Aaron Rodgers is making a mistake. I would have stayed with the Green Bay Packers. They have a good offensive line, a young receiving core that is getting better, and you're in a weaker NFC. AFC, you're going up against a much better conference. You may have a little bit of a better defense, and you may have a better receiver in Garrett Wilson, but the Jets don't have an offensive line. And when you're in a division with, at that time, Belichick, who was obviously still a great defensive mind, though we didn't know they weren't able to score any points at all. When you're there with Miami, Buffalo, Cincinnati, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Jacksonville, Indy, etc., Kansas City, the Chargers, the AFC is just a gauntlet. And I thought Aaron Rodgers made a mistake. And the Jets are such a disastrous franchise that Zach Wilson doesn't want to play for him. Atlanta barely covered, and yet they're still going to win the NFC South. Who cares? The Lions, they almost let one get away from them, which again concerns me a little bit about the Detroit Lions. I don't think they're there yet. I keep saying it. Aiden Hutchinson is a very good pass rusher. I think they need to find another one. I think they are elite talented on offense, though I think they have to win by shootout. Saints, Jameis Winston came in. Derek Carr got hurt late in the game. Jameis Winston came in, did what Jameis Winston always does, makes some incredible passes, turns the football over. Credit to the Saints for getting back in the game after getting blitzed so hard early. This looked like it was going to be a Dolphins Commanders-like route here with the Lions and Saints. But, the Saints, I don't trust their offense. Their defense we know is good. They can shut down most teams. Don't trust their offense. They cannot move the ball, it seems like, when Derek Carr is in there. Derek Carr may be washed. And they're not a great football team, but in the end, they played hard here, but they fell at home. I said Houston would cover. They did 3.5 against Denver. They really dominated most of the game. Denver made a good effort in the second half. 3 turnovers from Russell Wilson, though, did them in. I said Denver's winning streak had a lot more to do with them not turning the football over and getting turnovers at an egregious rate that was not going to continue, as opposed to Sean Payton has fixed all of the Broncos' woes, which he has not. Big loss here for Houston, though, with Tank Dell going down. Their offense did not look quite the same. CJ Stroud did not look, as exquisite as he has over the past month. Though with Jacksonville losing Monday night, now it opens up the possibility for the Texans to win the division. And again, I think it comes down to Texans, Jacksonville, Indianapolis, though, potential wild card, the way Gardner Minshew's been playing, which I did pick them to win. Now, this game was wild. 2 blocked punts, Tennessee missing a field goal because their punter got hurt. Ryan Tannehill had to come in and do the hold, a pick 2. And then, Tennessee getting the field goal in overtime. Gardner Minshew had to go back down the field and get the touchdown, which he did. And I said when Indianapolis made the hire of Shane Steichen, obviously former Eagles offensive coordinator, I was upset that he left Philly. I really liked Shane Steichen. I thought he was brilliant. I had the Colts in the playoff mix this year in the AFC because of that, though I thought it was going to be with Anthony Richardson. And I did not realize how well Gardner Minshew could play over a consecutive stretch. But somehow Shane Steichen has gotten the up and down Gardner Minshew to play really steady. And Indianapolis is winning these games. They sweep Tennessee, which they have been unable to beat Tennessee for years. I said going into the year, I was not a fan of Tennessee. DeAndre Hopkins has helped that receiving core a little bit. I mean, imagine if they did not have DeAndre Hopkins, who would Will Levis be running the football to? Will Levis has given me signs of he could be an okay quarterback. I don't think he's special. I don't think he's the franchise quarterback. In the end, I think the Colts are the better team. Now, Arizona. This game had 2 weather delays, and Kenny Pickett went down, and Mitch Trubisky could not move the ball against the Cardinals. And the Cardinals, ever since Kyler Murray has come back, some weeks they look really good. Now, other weeks against the Rams, obviously, they just don't have the talent to go up against that Rams offense. But Arizona now, they've won 2 games with Kyler Murray coming back. I think it's a mistake. Again, could Kyler Murray be the franchise quarterback of the future? Yes. When Kyler Murray had DeAndre Hopkins a couple of years ago with Cliff Kingsbury, I was really high on Arizona. I was wrong about that. Kyler's been moody. It seems like his attitude has changed as he came back from injury. Who knows? Maybe the torn ACL could be something that really good happened to Kyler Murray. But the story out of this game is Arizona is essentially playing themselves out of the top order of the draft, while New England all of a sudden now can sneak in and maybe they go get a Drake May, or who knows if Carolina can find a way to win a game with Chris Tabor. Maybe New England ends up getting Caleb Williams, and that's how Belichick, sort of turns the future around here. But the Steelers' offense has not looked any better with the firing of Matt Canada. The offense is bad. Kenny Pickett, Mitch Trubisky, it doesn't matter. It's broken. They need a new quarterback. They're not going to because of the Steeler pride. They're going to win with defense. But even in the rain conditions, Pittsburgh on a 99-yard drive where Trey McBride, after Arizona cut Zach Ertz, looks really good. And that may have been one of the worst losses at home in Mike Tomlin's era as the head coach of the Steelers. I said I thought Arizona was going to cover. When does Pittsburgh win by more than 6 points? And, well, they lost to Arizona. All right, Tampa beat Carolina. It was my survivor pick of the week. Now, Carolina covered. I thought they would play a little bit better. First week, interim head coach Chris Tabor giving them a boost. But this team is not very good. They're still not good offensively. Chuba Hubbard has quietly had a good past couple of weeks. He's sort of taken over the lead back outside of Miles Sanders. But Tampa still has a chance to win the NFC South. They won the game. Again, it's a lot of meh here from my perspective. Joe Flacco played well for the Browns, and the Rams won by 17 because the Rams offense is boat race the Browns defense. The Browns defense, we don't talk about the Browns as an historic defense this year. At home, they do. They're only giving up 10 points a game. On the road, they're giving up almost 30. I don't know if it's the better quarterbacks they're playing, the better teams. I don't know what it is. But at the end of the day, the Rams now, we said it, Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, and Aaron Donald were going to have to carry this team to the playoffs, and they could do it in a weaker NFC here. They're taking a part of a white back half of their schedule, and I think the Rams have a chance to be a playoff team in the NFC. Now, San Francisco, Philadelphia. I said going into the game that there were two things that worried me about this Niners-Eagles game. One was the rest factor, which I think did play a little bit of a factor. The emotionalness of, Philly coming off back-to-back huge wins with Kansas City, Buffalo, and even throw Dallas in there before the bye week. On top of that, you have San Francisco on a Thursday night. Now they have a longer time to prepare. Philadelphia played overtime, 92 defensive snaps against Buffalo. And when the Eagles did not cash in on touchdowns early, I thought it was going to take a superhuman defensive effort. But the story of this game from the Niners offensive perspective was they didn't target James Bradbury at all. They only targeted Darius Slay 3 times. It was the middle of the field and running to the left side, and Trent Williams took apart Josh Sweat, Hassan Reddick, and that Philly defensive line after the first 2 drives of the game. And the Eagles defense could not stop the Niners in the middle of the field. I did not think the offense played horrible, though I think, you could have asked them to play a little bit more. Obviously, we had the incident with Trey Greenlaw and the security and Dom, and that woke Philadelphia up for a little bit. Jalen Hurts got a push touchdown. But then from there, Deebo Samuel played. Deebo Samuel played with his hair on fire in that game. The Niners were very motivated. Obviously, NFC Championship rematch, they've heard all the talk about, they would have won the game if Brock Purdy did not get hurt. Now, I was not a believer in that. But at the end of the day, Brock Purdy played very well after the first quarter, barely missed a pass. San Francisco just had a beat on Philadelphia's defense, and they were the better team that day. But in the end, I still think the Eagles are the best offensive line in football. I still think they have the best defensive line in football, and I think that this will teach them how to match up with San Francisco going forward. Sometimes you lose, or sometimes you learn more, in defeat rather than victory. And I think it was just a bad game. I think Philly comes back here. I think they beat Dallas on Sunday night. And then, I'm ready to admit I was wrong on Jordan Love. In September and October, it looked like he couldn't play. But I'll tell you what I saw against Kansas City looked like a franchise quarterback, and it looked like an offensive coach and Matt LaFleur helping out his quarterback. Reverses, screens, get the ball out quick, get the ball to your playmakers. Having a game plan to disrupt Chris Jones and that Chiefs defensive line, which barely touched Jordan Love all year long. And then defensively, the way they're playing Philadelphia is the way you play Kansas City, right? Sit back in zone, double team Kelsey, take away everything else, take away the shots down the field. Obviously, Kansas City is going to be Kansas City. They're going to score points. But if you can make them nickel and dime their way down the field, it's what San Francisco did with Philadelphia. More than likely going to lead to a mistake. Obviously, Green Bay got the pick. Now, the pass interference call was brutal. We all know it. Kansas City should have had a shot to go into the end zone from about the 5, get the touchdown, get the 2-point conversion. Maybe they go to overtime. Maybe it's a different story. But at the end of the day, for most of the night, Green Bay did outplay Kansas City. And so props to the Packers and what their schedule looks like right now. I talked about it with the Rams a little bit earlier. I think your wild card in the NFC now, outside of Dallas, is going to be Green Bay and the Rams. And I think Seattle, with this huge losing streak, could be on the outside looking in, something I never thought I would say at the beginning of the season. Jacksonville had an opportunity to get the number 1 seed. Trevor Lawrence went down. The injury does not sound as brutal as we initially thought, though he'll probably miss this game against the Browns coming up, which all of a sudden is going to be, who knows? We think it's going to be Joe Flacco, though he's now in the practice squad against CJ Beathard. But Jake Browning looked really good. At points last night, he looked like Joe Burrow. And if that Bengals team can do that against what I said was a very suspect Jacksonville defense, Cincinnati, with their schedule also, some very weak AFC teams coming up, Mitch Trubisky, Gardner Minshew, not saying those are going to be easy games, but if they can win them, Cincinnati is still in the playoff hunt. So, very interesting week coming up too. Week 14 in the NFL. A lot of backup quarterbacks, meaning a lot of bad potential NFL matchups, including New England, Pittsburgh, Thursday night. We'll do our money line picks. We'll do our best bets on Thursday.